So we got Susie, Stacy, and Cheryl. Here's where the mystery comes in. The front porch light, it was broken and there were glasses all over the floor. And ring, 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 no answer. So Janice, she noticed that the answer machine was on and it was blinking. So they started looking at Susie's background and they found out that she was dating a guy named Dustin. What was even more stranger to her was there was a young woman driving with a blonde hair. So 6 months goes by, still no leads. Sadly, the call was dropped or whoever hung up the phone never called back. Assalamu alaikum guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So how are you guys today? I hope you're having a wonderful day. If not, that's okay. Take a deep breath, some things you just can't control and that's okay. If you're interested in true crimes and makeup, I highly suggest you hit that subscribe button. If you guys don't know who I am Rahma Rusdi. I do videos based on true crime stories and also showing off some of my makeup skills. So if that is what you're looking for, hit that subscribe button. Talking about this case, it's actually driving me nuts, driving me crazy, because you know what? It's an unsolved mystery. I know, I hate unsolved mysteries too, but these actually exist. So I'm gonna talk about this today. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So today's story takes place in Springfield, Missouri in June 1992. In June, it's a graduation day for the students over at Kickapoo High School. But at first, a lot of students, after the graduation, what do they want to do? They want to party. So there was a party. So within this graduating class, there were two good friends, Stacy McCall and Susie Streeter. So Stacy is 18 and it was said that she was fun, she was bubbly, and that she had a great sense of humor. After school, she was ready to graduate and go to Missouri State University. Susie was 19 years old. She is also very similar to Stacy. It was said that she was outspoken and outgoing. Susie was said to be the one who hung out with the popular students, even dating one of the high school bad boys. But Susie herself, she stayed out of trouble. So at that night, there were a lot of things going on. There were a lot of parties. Many people were heading out to Branson, Missouri. And everyone was gonna stay at the hotel and party. And the next day they were gonna head to the local water park. It's called the White Water. So party at the hotel, waking up, going to the White Water, and then celebrate there with friends and stuff. That was their plan all along. So Susie and Stacy, they were gonna do this. They were going to go to the hotel and then next morning they were to join their friends at the local water park. Great. But at the last minute, they changed their mind. They decided to head to another friend's of their house. Her name was Janelle Kirby. Stacy calls her mom at around 10:30 p.m. She calls up her mom. She's like, "Hey mom, plans will change. We're not going to stay at the hotel. We're going to Janelle's place because there's a party out there." So plans changed, right? So Stacy and Susie, they were heading to Janelle's house, where their neighbor was having a party out there. And they planned on staying night at the house, But unfortunately, there were too many people and they were like, you know what, it's too crowded. Let's just go to Susie's place and we can go to the water park next morning. So they go to their friend Janelle and they were like, "Hey, you know what, we're going to Susie's place and we'll head to the water park tomorrow together." So the girls head over to 1717 East Delmer Street where Susie was living with her mom, Cheryl. So we got Susie, Stacy, and Cheryl. Cheryl and her daughter Susie, they recently moved to this house. I guess like Susie's parents were divorced and then they had to move into this house. Now Cheryl, she also works as a hairstylist at one of the local salons. So the two of them drove to Susie's house, okay? They change out their clothes, they wash off their makeups, and they head to bed. Here's where the mystery comes in. So the next morning, it's 8 a.m. Janelle calls Susie. She's calling her house. But nobody was picking up the phone. Nothing. Goes to voicemail. Susie and Stacy were supposed to head back to Janelle's house and they were supposed to go to the water park together. Remember? So everyone was like waiting for Susie and Stacy to show up and then they could go together. So Janelle ends up calling again, but no answer at all. So when Janelle and her boyfriend head to Susie's place, they see that all of their cars were out front in the driveway. So again, they must be home. So Janelle and her boyfriend walks up to the front door, and the first thing that they notice is that the front porch light, it was broken and there were glasses all over the floor. So it was said that the boyfriend, Janelle's boyfriend, his name is Mike, he was able to sweep up the glasses at the floor. So after he swept it up, the two of them goes to the door, knock, 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 no answer. And then they realize the front door was unlocked. And the two of them go inside. Now, the house itself was pretty quiet, but the TV was left on. And then they see Cheryl's dog. His name was Cinnamon. He comes walking to the living room and he seems very anxious. Two of them looking around the house and they came across all the three ladies' purses, their makeup, jewelry. So other than the light was being broken, there was not much of a sign of struggle. It was just a weird vibe inside. So Janelle and her boyfriend, they were like, you know what, let's head to the water park. Maybe they're probably over there. So around this time, Stacy's mother, Janice McCall, she's feeling a little uneasy. She haven't heard from her daughter this morning. It was very unlike her to not call or at least to check in. So Stacy's mom, she decided to call to Janelle's house. So she calls Janelle's house and she finds out that they ended up staying at Susie's place. So she lets 7 hours to go in and then she calls again. This time, again no answer. So then Stacy's mother, she decided to call Cheryl, Susie's mother, see if her daughter's there. Because again, 7 hours goes by and she has not heard back from her daughter. And ring, 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 no answer. So Janice figures out something must be wrong with their phone because it's ringing but nobody's answering. She decided to go check Susie's place. So Janice reaches Cheryl's house. So when Janice gets to Cheryl's house, she also discovers that the front door was unlocked and she goes inside the house and it was empty. Now at this very same time, Janelle and her boyfriend show back over the house to check and see why Susie and Stacy were never showed up. So all three of them decided to look around the house, have a little investigation on what happened to Susie, Cheryl, and Stacy. So this obviously gives weird feeling to Janice because she was not feeling very comfortable and she was like, I'm gonna call the police. And then afterwards she calls her husband and told him to come over until she waits for the police. So Janice, she noticed that the answer machine was on and it was blinking, informing her that there was a message on that answer machine. So she checks on that message and it was a weird message and it was very pointless. She had no idea what that message was meant to be. So you know how the answer machine works. Sometimes you have to click the save button in order to save the message. But unfortunately, the message, after hearing this particular message, it got deleted. So to the police, there was not much to work with or to start with the investigation. So the police tried to start the investigation, to check on the place. But since people were coming and going, it was believed that the crime scene was contaminated. Plus, on top of that, the message of the answering machine was deleted. so there was not much to work with. But other than that, there was no sign of struggle. And it was said that in the room there were few makeup wipes, suggesting that they took their makeup off and went to the bed on the same day. They found $900 in Cheryl's purse and her car keys. And again, there was jewelry. So it was clear to the police that it was not a robbery. One thing that was noticed and many found odd was that Cheryl's pack of smokes and the lighter was still in her purse. Now, Cheryl was a big time smoker, and it was said that there is no way Cheryl left the house without her smoke pack. Yeah, she couldn't have gotten another pack or something, but whatever. So police tried their best to recover the deleted message from the answering machine, but it was a dead end. They couldn't do anything about it. It was just gone. Well, some time goes by and there were not so many leads. So they started looking at Susie's background and they found out that she was dating a guy named Dustin. Remember I told you that Susie was dating one of the bad boys in high school? Yeah. Well, Dustin was indeed a very bad boy. And he had recently been arrested for being part of a grave robbing gang. Yes, and I guess at some point Susie learned about this, that they have robbed a grave and ended up working with him. Now, there were rumors going around that Susie was the one who turned their boyfriend to the police. They were going on a trial and Susie was supposed to testify against this gang at their trial in a few months. So police, they go out and they question Dustin. And they also questioned all of his friends and they ended up passing the polygraph test and they denied everything that had to do with Susan's disappearance. There was nothing, there was no crime linked to Susan's disappearance, so the police had to let them go. A couple of days after the disappearance, another lead comes in. This time it's from an older woman who lived in the same neighborhood where the girls went missing. She knew what kind of cars came through the neighborhood and she just knew something was out of place. Well, she had called the police to report that a couple of days after the girl's disappearance, she has noticed that some kind of a greenish car or van driving on the block. What was even more stranger to her was there was a young woman driving with a blonde hair. She seemed to be stressed or worried or bothered. Like she wasn't driving happy. She was just very, something was like making her stress. Now, the woman also said that she heard a male voice talking to the driver and the voice, it sounded like very aggressive. So she reported saying that the male voice said something like, "Don't do anything stupid." So the police shows this woman a photo of the three girls that went missing. And she said that the person who drove the van, was exactly like Susie. And she gave a good description of the vehicle itself. She said that it was a greenish van and it was between 1960s or 1970s, and the police, they thought that she was a very credible witness. They were really hoping that anybody will come forward regarding this greenish van, any tip, like they have seen the van. And over time they ended up having lots of tip about this van, right? But many were reporting to have it in a different color. So 6 months goes by, still no leads. On New Year's Eve of 1992, an episode of America's Most Wanted was playing on the TV, and they were sharing about the story of the strange disappearance, what was now called as the Springfield 3. On the show, they shared all the information they had, right? And they told the people to call if they have any kind of information. So that night, a man called the operator of the show to give some information. Once this operator tried to link the call to the police, that man hung up the phone, or it just got cut off. Sadly, the call was dropped, or whoever hung up the phone never called back. And also, the hotline couldn't trace the call. So once again, it was a dead end. Well, again, more time goes by, and then in 1993, there was a man by the name of Stephen Garrison. He came forward and said that he knows what happened to Springfield 3. And he said he knew where they were buried at and was willing to share this information only if he could get a plea bargain of what he was dealing with. So this guy Steve says one day he was at a party, he was getting drunk with his friends, and there was this other friend who came super drunk and was confessing to him on how she killed these three girls. Now police are kind of like, I don't know, sir, about your story, okay. Then Steven started to share some information that still has not been released to the public. He ends up bringing the police into a property. Police found something. They found something, and they end up getting a gag order on Steven, which means pretty much they cannot talk anything about this case or what they found on this property. Nobody can talk about this case because of this gag order. So whatever was on this property, nobody was allowed to speak what they found, how they found it, or anything. It was just very strange. They just stopped speaking about it. They say Stephen was not a very great person. Stephen was in prison serving 40 years sentence for kidnapping and rape charges from a Springfield college girl back in 1993. So again, he wanted some sort of plea bargain to help out with this situation. I don't know, so this was super weird story and no answer seems to be coming from this lead. Again, this story, the three women were just vanished, like poof, gone. Susie, Cheryl, and Stacy. Well, that's when another tip comes in from Florida suggesting there was a person named Robert Cox who was responsible for the disappearance. Now, Robert says he's a highly trained army ranger who was recently convicted and sentenced to death for brutally murdering another 19-year-old girl from Florida. Robert had moved to Springfield right before these women went missing, and he used to work at the same dealership as Stacy's dad. So police were questioning him. Unfortunately, they couldn't get any lead out of Robert. So again, without any hard proof, they had to let Robert go. Later in 1995, Robert was arrested in Texas for an aggravated robbery. Police found out from Robert's ex-girlfriend that the alibi he was having at the night when the women went missing was a lie. So police found out about this and they went to Texas to question Robert, but he refused to talk. But then oddly, in an interview in 1996, when a local reporter asked Robert on these women, Robert said something, it was super, super weird. So this reporter asked him, hey, do you know anything about Springfield 3? And then Robert says, I know they're dead. I can say that. So Robert is still considered as a person of interest. They don't have any confession or any hard evidence linking him into this case. So until then, this case goes cold again. So with no new solid information, after 5 years goes by, the police finally have to stop actively working on this case. The three women were legally declared dead in June 1997. So years goes by and in 2007, there's a journalist named Kathy Baird. She gets a tip from who claims to be a psychic that he had a vision or a dream on this Springfield case. She said that the three missing women were buried in the foundation of the south parking garage at Cox Hospital. So back in 1992, when the women went missing, this parking structure was not built in yet. It was just a big lot of dirt. She shares this information with investigators, but they pretty much just laugh in her face. And they say something like, there's no way. What are we gonna do? Like tear up all the parking structure? And she was like, aren't you gonna do something about it? And they were telling her like, even if they were there was a lot of cement on top of them and they're not going to blow up the parking structure. So Kathy, she can't just let go of this tip. She needs to know if this tip is right. She needs closure. I feel you, girl. We all need closure. And she was like, I need to investigate myself. So she hires a mechanical engineer to use a ground penetrating radar to scan the parking garage floor and see if anything turns up. Now she's like recording this guy, I guess, and this guy, he's using his machines to like scan what is underneath this foundation. He says that he's getting two images that are parallel in one spot and there's another, like a third nearby, that's perpendicular. I don't know. And then Kathy, she gets excited and she goes to this person and he says, you know, I'm like investigating a missing case and this was supposed to be something that I should find out. So the police tells Kathy that the radar scan was not good enough for them to demolish the garage. They still need more evidence. So Kathy starts digging more and more information on this case and strangely she stops. Anywho, this case is still ongoing and it remains unsolved as of 2023. Hopefully one day we'll get to know what happened to these three women, the Springfield Three. They just disappeared and nobody knows anything. Somebody would have said something, somebody would have done something, but you know, end of the day, it was a very, very sad and strange story. They were just gone missing like bam, scary. Anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and a great week ahead. And remember, be safe out there and make good choices. I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Until then, goodbye.